Okay, so we have quite the package to get into today, and I don't want to waste any time. So the Genaray Contender 3 light kit, it comes in this fantastic case that is waterproof and has handles on top and bottom, and also a top carrying handle. As we flip it on this edge, you see that it gives you a gauge for pressure and a pressure release, and you got the two push down and unlock latches to get into the case. Flipping it around the back, you can see that this includes wheels and an extendable slash retractable kind of carry-on type of thing to use the wheels. So this is the case in and of itself is really, really high quality. So as we look at what comes in the case itself, you get a top level, which we will focus on here momentarily, and a bottom level that is covered with this nice foam. On this side, you get 3 ball heads that you can use to mount to any light stands, 3 15-volt power bricks. You get 2 amp dual chargers for the NPF series batteries that are included, so you can charge them all at the same time. I will say that because they are 2 amp, it will take quite a bit of time to charge the 4400 milliamp hour batteries that are included, and that's all in the bottom part of this case. Let's go ahead and take a look at the most interesting part of this case, and if I could flip this up without dumping it out, you can see on the bottom here there's some retention nets that you can store the included extension cables, which I don't have in there right now because I've been using these lights for the past month or so. You get 6 NP series batteries that are 4400 milliamp hours in capacity. You get the battery adapters for these light kits, and you get the light bodies themselves. So I want to talk to you about these ball heads. They are ratcheting in design, and they all come with 3/8 threads that have these adapters already placed in them. So if you need 3/8, you just take out that adapter and you're ready to rock and roll. Each light comes with this 15 amp power brick that has this 2-prong design that connects directly into the light. So when you put it in, it automatically locks in, and then you pull this little thread down and you can unlock it and it comes out of the light. And they're designated by these little red dots that you can use to line up with the light and insert the adapter in the correct orientation. There are these decent battery chargers included. So there's 3 of them that can charge all 6 of the batteries that are included. They have these little indicator lights down at the bottom. Each one of the lights is an indication of 25% battery power. This is only 2 amps output to the battery, so I will say that in my experience it takes quite a bit of time to charge up both batteries. And a closer look at the Sony NPF750 battery that is 4400 milliamp hours in capacity and is 7.4 volts. You get 3 of these fantastic lights that are 50 watts, high density matrix LEDs that have installed barn doors that can be removed at any time, but they're pretty awesome. And the Fresnel is built in, so you can go from a 25-degree beam to a 55-degree beam, so you can get really wide or really focused light sources. Additionally, you can go from 100% of output to 10%, so you can't go all the way down to 0 if you need to. You just have to cut the light off. So, around the back, you get the actual control panel that shows you brightness and power. It is really, really stout and sturdy, strong, and weighs quite a bit. You get a 1/4-20 and a 3/8 at the bottom, as well as this Arca Swiss mount. So you can mount this directly to a tripod or something using this Arca Swiss embedded plate. And I think that's really clever and a nice use of space when it comes to maintaining a compact lighting system. These little lights have a strong output and are quite impressive. You get about an hour of battery life using 2 4400 milliamp hour batteries when you have the battery attachment installed. When you're running this thing at 100%. You can more than double that by dimming it down to 50%, so it's not very power hungry, but I will say that it's not that efficient. So you're not going to get a whole lot of battery life out of this using the included batteries. You get the Fresnel, and you can change the beam angle using this, and you can see the innards of the light go back and forth to kind of increase beam angle or tighten it up. And you can remove the back here to install the battery compartment. So by threading this thing off, comes off. When you take off the control panels, you get these male ends on the light, and you got to make sure that you line up those male ends with these female ends. And it's a little bit difficult to install, to be honest. So be very careful when you're kind of swapping these out. I would say just leave the battery adapter on there if you don't need to take it off, and if you're not traveling too much. You have to take it off to store it back into the case, but if you don't have to take it off, then don't leave it on, because you can still power the light using the power adapter with this installed as well. Take some time, get these lined up and install them. They take quite a bit of finagling to get that done. As soon as you get those prongs lined up, you can see this thread says which way to tighten this self-enclosed thread to make sure that you secure it. And it's really not too difficult to do so. You're not going to get any crazy threading issues or anything. You just tighten that up and you're good. After you got that on, you got to make sure that you install the control panel back on the light. I will say that it's the control panel doesn't retain the thread, so make sure that you keep that in place when you do that. Reinstalling the control panel is a little bit easier. And just like that, you have a light with the capability of installing 2 Sony NP series batteries simply by clicking them in place and then powering the light on. So while I blind myself, let's take a look at the panel. Taking a closer look at the panel, it shows brightness and color temperature. Initially, when you power it on, it'll adjust brightness. And to adjust the color temperature, you just press the button and the color temperature will change, and you can make adjustments in 100 Kelvin increments. It also displays battery life left. So each one of those blocks is about 25% battery life. And if you leave it on the color temperature for a little bit, it will automatically readjust back to brightness. So when you make color temperature adjustments, it only lasts for a little bit. So as it's blinking, you can make those adjustments. And if we sit and wait for a bit, you'll see that it will automatically bounce back to the brightness. And then from there, I'm automatically in the brightness. I will say that making brightness adjustments takes a little bit of time. So going from 10% to 100, you can see how many times I'm turning the dial on this thing. And to go to 10%, it's going to take me a little bit to get to 10%. So just keep in mind that you can't make really crazy adjustments really quickly. I kind of wanted to give a rough demo on beam angle. There's nothing scientific about this. I'm about 2 feet away from this backdrop here, and I'm at 10% brightness at the 25-degree beam angle. So if I brighten this up to 100%, you can see I get quite a lot of output from this little light. And then if I open up the beam angle to the 55 degrees, the widest, you can see that I can cover quite a bit of space considering I'm only about 2 feet away from this. This light is really nice and works really well in confined spaces, but I will say that the fan noise could be a bit of a deterrent, but we'll talk about that here momentarily and kind of give a demo in that. You can use the barn doors to cut this light rather well. It does a pretty good job considering there's multiple LEDs built into this. If you know anything about lights, if you have multiple LEDs, it's kind of difficult to cut. You can see kind of the graduated thing going on here. And I think that's primarily because there's multiple sources having to be brought together using these barn doors. But it does a good job, and I'm really impressed by this light. So it's been a little bit since I shot the unboxing and kind of close look at each one of the lights. And I wanted to give you an opportunity to hear how these lights perform in a tight environment. As the subject, I can hear each one of the fans on all of the lights, and none of them are set above 50%. I got my key light that's at 50%, and then I got my kicker that's at 40%, and then I got my hair light that's at 10%, and all of the fans are going. If I'm quiet for a moment, I don't even think they're that disturbing, and you can't really hear them on the microphone. But the sound is there, as you can probably take note of. With all that being said, these lights come in at about $1,100 for the whole kit, and you are missing light stands, so you're gonna have to add that additional cost to this. But with it being so super portable and the awesome case that they provide, I think it's a pretty awesome deal. And I've been using these lights for about a month, and I really, really enjoy them. They don't get too hot and they don't make a whole lot of noise, and I'm shooting in a rather tight environment. They also cast pretty harsh shadows from like diffusion and stuff, because there is really none. And you can't really cut the light too well, like I said, with the barn doors, because there's multiple LEDs within each one of these light systems. So do I recommend this system to you? Well, if you can deal with the fan noise, not being able to cut the light really precisely because the multiple LEDs that are built into this, need a wider or tighter beam angle, and need or don't have light stands, then I'd say this kit is not for you. But if you have if all of those four things don't really bother you, or you have light stands, then this is a fantastic portable light kit. Well, before I close, I must disclose B&H was kind enough to send these lights out to me for testing and review, so without them, this video would not have been possible. Well, that about does it for me in this one. If you like this video, please feel free to give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, you know what to do. Thank you for taking the time to watch. I am Tomas, and I will catch you in the next one.